Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. All right, guys, I have some key roster adjustments that I want you guys to make before the full slate of Sunday games. So hopefully you're catching this video before the full slate of Week 2 games, because that's the main purpose of this video. But if you happen to be watching it afterwards, there's still some pretty helpful advice on here for things that you could do to bolster your roster. So I'm going to start right here with the first thing on my list. If any of these running backs are on the waiver wire, you need to grab them immediately. Gus Edwards, Jalen Warren, Zach Moss, Jerome Ford, and that's the order that I want you to pick them up in. I've got them listed here in order. Gus Edwards needs to be your number one priority. Everyone's going to try to tell you Justice Hill. Do not listen. Justice Hill carried the ball 8 times for only 9 yards after J.K. Dobbins went down. The efficiency wasn't there. He just fell in the end zone twice. This is fluky production. Gus Edwards is going to be the guy in this backfield. And right now, analysts have Justice Hill projected to score more points, and a lot of them are saying that you should pick him up over Gus Edwards. Do not listen to this. Gus Edwards is the pickup off the waiver wire for the Ravens backfield. He has a track record. He was the more efficient back in Week 1. Justice Hill just got lucky with touchdowns, guys. Pick up Gus Edwards, not Justice Hill, for the Ravens backfield. Next back is Jalen Warren. It looks like he's going to have a significant role in the offense, like I was saying in the preseason. Fade Najee Harris early, draft Jalen Warren. It's starting to look like that was very much the right thing to do, because Jalen Warren is going to have a significant role in this backfield. Next is Zach Moss. Pick up Zach Moss if he's out there. We don't know what's going on with Jonathan Taylor. Is he going to really be 100% when he comes back? Is he going to get traded? Is the team going to limit his workload because he's not really into it and doesn't really want to play in Indianapolis? The situation is a complete mess. It could be a situation where Zach Moss ends up being pretty valuable for fantasy. So pick up Zach Moss and then Jerome Ford. Obviously, Jerome Ford had way more carries in Week 1 than anyone expected. We've seen backup running backs for the Browns be incredibly productive behind Nick Chubb. We saw it in the years with Kareem Hunt. I'm not saying that Jerome Ford is Kareem Hunt, but hey, if he ends up having a significant role running behind this offensive line and this explosive offense that's going to be in the red zone often, he could be a very valuable back. So pick him up off the waiver wire. Pick up these guys in this order that I have them listed here. That's the order of importance. That way you know which ones are more important than the other, but all of these are great waiver wire pickups. Next is I have 2 defensive streaming options for you guys. One is the Commanders versus the Broncos, and 2 is the Saints versus Carolina on the last game of the week, the Monday night game. So these are the 2 best defensive streaming options. Now, if you have a starting defense that you really like and they have a great matchup, go ahead. But if you're not sure about your defensive matchup, remember that matchup at the defensive position in fantasy is by far and away more important than it is at any other position. Matchups are important for every position, but the main thing when it comes to your actual players is the player. But when it comes to matchups, or when it comes to defense, matchups are everything. And so the Commanders versus Denver is a very good matchup. The Commanders are on a lot of waiver wires in a lot of leagues, and the Saints, they're on waivers too in a lot of leagues. So they're going up against Carolina. I think they have a really good matchup. I think the Saints can be a very good defensive streaming option this week if you don't like your starting defense for the week. Next is please do not do anything stupid like benching Lamar Jackson, benching Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Justin Fields, or even Daniel Jones. These are all guys that had a terrible Week 1, but you drafted them to be your starting quarterback, right? So don't bench them after having a bad Week 1. We know that Week 1 can be incredibly fluky when it comes to production. So, yeah, it was a bad Week 1 for quarterbacks. Don't put these guys on the bench. Don't overreact. Don't try to sell them or anything like that. Wait for them to just go ahead and explode in Week 2. Odds are 80% of these guys that I have listed here, probably 4 out of the 5, if not all of them, will bounce back significantly in Week 2. So don't bench them. Make sure to start your quarterbacks that you invested high draft capital in. Next and final thing on my list is you need to go ahead and buy low on these players. Now, I'm going to list these guys in order from how hard it's going to be to get them to, so from most attainable to least attainable is what I'm going to do, right? So they're all attainable because they had a huge bust week in Week 1, so that's why they're on my buy lows, but some are going to be harder to get than others. So I'm listing them in order of attainability from least attainable, hardest to actually, make a trade for, to most attainable. So number 1, Jamar Chase. 2, Waddle. 3, Saquon. 4, Jacobs. 5, Gibbs. 6, Fields. 7, Darren Waller. These 7 players are attainable right now in the trade market in this order that I have them listed from attainability. So try to buy low on these 7 guys before they explode in Week 2. Take advantage of the fact that they had a bust week in Week 1. We know that people tend to overreact to things that happen early in the season. So like I said in my last video, in weeks 1 through 3, that's when you have to really manipulate the trade market in your favor and get these guys on your team, because people are going to be panic selling these guys. So before they explode in week 2, make sure to buy low on these players. All right, guys, appreciate you tuning in. Good luck this week. Catch you later.